Hello, guys. I think we can start now since we've just hit time. Are we all good to go? Wonderful, Flavio. Yeah, I can hear you now, Flavio.
Yep.
Perfect. So welcome to anyone who's just joined in. I am joined by Johan Flavio, the Global Head of Ops Solutions and the Ops Solution Developer at Glovo. Thank you guys for joining. Now, they'll be giving us some lessons on scaling during a pandemic and how Glovo adapted to the new normal. So I've got my notebook ready. So hopefully we get some key takeaways. I do have to say that I can speak on behalf of myself, but definitely on behalf of the rest of the team at CloudTalk, we're super excited to have you guys join us. I mean, one, because we're obviously super proud to be working with you guys and promote any of the work that we've been doing with you guys up to date. But also, I mean, Glovo is such a cool company. Like it is a cool, it just is point blank. It's a really cool company. And the growth journey that you guys have been on is enviable. Like it is completely enviable to say the least. I think any scaling company, any startup, ourselves included in this, has a lot to learn from you guys. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say. And just in a quick aside, there is a link in the chat to Slido where anyone who is attending can submit questions for the guys. So please use that link in Slido and we will make time at the end to go through them. Okay, perfect. Now, as a very brief introduction to myself and CloudTalk, because I know that people are not really here for me, but definitely for you guys, I'll be super brief. I'm Kirsty. I work in sales operations at CloudTalk. Now, for anyone who hasn't come across us before, we are a cloud-based phone solution. We typically work with sales and support teams, but really any team that uses phones as an integral part of their day-to-day operations. Companies tend to work with us because they need to drive operational efficiencies and their sales support teams to increase sales, improve the level of customer service they're able to give their clients. And it's for this reason we find ourselves working with scaling companies like the guys at Glovo. Now, for anyone who hasn't had the joy, I guess, of using Glovo yet to have their Saturday morning McDonald's delivered or their last minute shopping, guys, could you give us an introduction to yourselves, Glovo, and your roles there?
So I guess I'll start. So Glovo, for those who don't know, is an app that is a delivery company. But we're not a delivery company; we're a technology company delivering food and other things. So we can deliver, what we deliver most is from restaurants, but you can also order your pharmacy, flowers, gifts, or literally anything. Which we have an anything button where you can ask the courier to go to pretty much any store and collect what you would want from them. So yeah, I'm in charge of I'm the head of Ops Solution, which is an internal department helping operations scale. And I've been here for about 3 years.
Nice, thank you, Johan.
Perfect. And yeah, for me, I am an Ops Solution software developer. So what I do is I write the software. So I write software so the operation team can scale faster and with less resources as possible. So we want to drive success in our team, and that's pretty much what me and Johan do for our team at Glovo.
Nice.
And I started in Glovo 2 years ago, and I started all the way from being a Glover delivering, and I've been scaling up, going and going.
Nice. And Johan, you have been at Glovo the longest between you and Flavio. So you joined, and please correct me if I got this wrong, I hope I didn't. You joined in October 2018, which means that you joined just post Series C. Now, at this point, Glovo had raised 115 million euros, which is huge. And at this point, you guys were evaluated at 185 million euros, which again is huge. But at that point, did you realize that this company that you were joining in literally just 2.5 years would go from a valuation of 185 million euros up to 1.6 billion euros?
So I mean, the scale at which it grew, I was definitely not expecting that. I mean, I joined Glovo because it was a very exciting company. They had just launched all of LATAM. They were in Brazil. They were expanding. You know, the sky was the limit, it seemed. And I was an avid consumer user of the app. I lived in Barcelona and I was using it frequently. So I joined by passion of the actual product, and yeah, definitely didn't expect us to grow to that size that fast. But after joining, seeing how the team is, seeing the gas, seeing the energy that is present, I mean, I understand how it makes sense that the company is scaling. We have such a dedicated and passionate team that yeah, it's on a good it's on a good path, and I now I see it going even further.
Nice. And Flavio, you joined not too much later. I think it was 2019, which was, again, correct me if I'm wrong, this was just before, I think you joined like maybe 6 months or so before Glovo hit unicorn status, right?
Correct, yeah.
What were the celebrations like?
Well, it was more like an announcement. Like in our company, we like the idea of being humble. And yeah, like we celebrated, we don't celebrate it, we announce it, we're proud of it, but we just keep going. We have our teams are trying to drive success. So our main focus for me reaching the unicorn status, for me it meant like, nice, now I'm gonna have more teammates to do more work with me.
I mean, hopefully more teammates means like positive as in shared work, and not more like, oh my God, we're growing so fast, this is just more and more work for me to do.
Yeah, what I like about Glovo is that you just have to keep evolving. Like in Glovo, I'm not like not even a shadow of the person that I was when I first joined Glovo, and all the things that I've mastered in Glovo. Like as soon as you master something, you need to start mastering the next thing, because it's so fast paced and so evolving that you just need to keep up with it.
Fair. I mean, that's a nice environment to be in though, because you know yourself, if you join, like Glovo is a massive company, but if you joined an equally large company like this, you may find yourself stagnating. You know, you're not going to get all that exposure, all the new skills that you guys have got. Well, I assume, from looking inside, it looks like you guys must have been doing a lot. And I have to ask though, and I know you said that there wasn't anything for the unicorn party, but and I completely get the being humble, but you've literally just closed the largest funding round in the history of Spain. I think, was it last month officially it closed at 450 million euros. That's, again, massive. And on top of that, it's the biggest one that's ever happened in Spain, which by itself is a huge call for celebration. It is huge. And also, if you put that in dollars, it's over $500 million raised. Any celebration, anything.
I mean, right now, like, also there's we're in the middle of COVID, so I think any big celebration is postponed. But again, like, being humble is in our core values, and it's not because we've reached that status that we should just rest on our laurels and just celebrate. Like, I mean, we did celebrate internally. We're happy. Everyone knows, like, our work is validated. You know, it means that we've been working for something that is recognized. But yeah, the one of our core values is to stay humble and to not get too ahead of ourselves.
Fair. I mean, it seems super counterintuitive just from it, like, as in, it's a very good lesson for me to come away with, because I'm so accustomed to seeing or celebrating everything and just making things every little win humongous. I mean, I've literally seen press releases from like Series A's raising 2 million, and you would think that they solved world hunger or solved world peace. So I think we all could take away, maybe be a little bit more humble about our wins. Because again, I mean, you guys have grown so much, so you can't get ahead of yourself really in that. Like, yes, celebrate those ones, but at the same time, don't get too comfortable because I'm sure it's still a lot of work. Now, for you guys to get to this point of insane growth, it must have been pandemonium working in it. Or does it feel normal?
I mean, we're in the it's a very hectic company. I mean, we're always we are working very hard. But the thing is, like, what we've seen is that the type of work that we've been doing, like, I mean, now Flavia can also attest, like, what we were doing a year ago is completely different to what we are doing now, and it's completely different to what we were doing 2 years ago. So as the company evolves, we are evolving. We're all acquiring extra skills, growing. We feel like we're all growing with the company and learning at the same time. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's always the next challenge. There's always something else to solve, and that keeps the excitement going, the gas going, and our motivation to address whatever the next challenge might be.
I mean, there's constant changes, like as you said, over the last year, but then you also had the pandemic thrown in the middle of that. Now, I'm sure that was a humongous, like, it was a change. It shook a lot of companies up. What was it like for you guys at Glovo?
So we had to adapt a lot. We had to do a lot. We had to adapt a lot of things. So it had some positives and some negative sides, right? For a while it was quite hard on the, let's say, on the Glovers, on the couriers. When the pandemic first started, most of the couriers didn't want to go delivering, which is absolutely, like, super fair enough, right? Like, I mean, yeah. It's scary. We didn't know what was going on. We were still microwaving our food before eating it because we were scared of catching the virus.
Wait, is this a thing that was happening in Spain? Yeah. I never know. That did not come over here.
Yeah, that happened.
I can imagine. I know that Dunkin' Donuts are pretty, like, popular on the delivery in Glovo. I can't imagine they do too well in the microwave.
No. So yeah, so then so one of the biggest challenges in the beginning was to onboard a lot of new couriers, because most of them didn't want to collaborate. So this was a big challenge, and this was also great for our team because it forced us to adapt quickly, to scale the onboarding process. Within a month, we were doing remote onboarding globally, and we're able to get back to regular onboarding speed. We were then faced with another issue, which is that we had too many couriers. As people started understanding how to deal with the virus and how to be precautious, masks were out. You know, in the beginning there were no masks. Like, gel was scarce. So as everything started becoming more normalized, the couriers that we thought had churned were coming back. And then we got to a scale where, to a point where we had too many couriers, which is really bad for them because it means less earnings. But luckily enough, orders grew, and that extra fleet is now necessary. So
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it was a good and bad time for you guys, and that, like, yeah, obviously with having people doing the deliveries, that's a big headache, but it's the perfect time to be a food delivery company or, like, marketplace, because everyone was desperate to eat out. So you guys are the only ones doing it in a lot of places, which is fantastic. So how did you guys, I guess, what changes or did you guys have to undertake to address this within your own team?
Well, the thing is that our team specifically in our section, we were promoting the remote onboarding. And we've been pushing the remote onboarding like for a year at least. We've been trying to upgrade the remote onboarding and trying to go remote and pushing for it. But we were getting a lot of resistance from local teams saying, no, we need the human touch. We need to talk with the people in person, which is true. Like the human touch does make a difference, but it makes it for having one good courier. But in numbers, like the remote onboarding is way better. And as soon as the pandemic happened and we had to shut down all the cities, then everybody wanted our product. Okay, now we need to release the remote onboarding in every city.
Yeah.
So that was the main issues that we have, having to be trying to push to release one city at a time to push all of them. Let's go.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that it doesn't have to take away from the human touch. It can just add to it. So then you can do as much as is needed remotely, and then you have more time to make those points where you need to actually interact with people extra special. So I guess first of all, very fortunate that you guys had already been working on this. Did you guys know something was going to happen?
No, I mean, it was more a question of scale, right? Like we were when I joined the company, we were in about 100 cities. Then at one point we were operating in more than 500. And at that point, it just doesn't make any sense to have a training center in every single city, to have a specific an employee in every one of those cities. So we saw that coming quite early on, and we're starting to work on a plan like to address. And obviously, as the pandemic came, what Flavio said, the challenge was not anymore trying to convince the local team, but us being fast enough at scaling it to all of the countries.
Nice. And then, so whenever you're looking at a project like this here, what's your first point of call, I guess, for like, how do you even start thinking like, right, what technologies or what do I need to do to get this in place? Do you guys, is it a matter of reaching out to your own networks? Do you have Slack channels with people from relevant companies that have similar problems, or how do you figure it out?
We talk internally and do a lot of Googling. There's really no, like, we haven't found the magic solution. Googling, looking at different product pages, calling for a demo, hearing from the sales team. But yeah, no magic formula, honestly. We're investigating. We're using Google as a main source, I would say.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's glad to hear that, because that's my number one fallback for everything. So at least I know I'm not doing something wrong, that I'm not missing something super obvious if everyone else is still just using Google. And then whenever you were, I guess, looking for solutions or technologies that would help you guys get to this fully remote onboarding, what sort of technologies did you have to evaluate?
So in the beginning, the team, before Flavio joined and before the team actually scaled into a more technical team. So initially it was the growth team. So we were a purely operational team. So we didn't know how to code. We didn't know how to do things. So what we were looking for were like zero code solutions. And Zapier was the main tool that allowed us to scale. Zapier is a tool that communicates through webhooks and allows different apps to interact with each other. So that allowed us to do to build like basic workflows. When this happens, trigger this. When if this, then that, and basically building kind of a mini software without any code. And then later, as we scaled, started hiring people who were much more technical and actually fixing the issues that you might expect to have with no code solutions. I mean, they're good for a quick MVP, but they're not necessarily the most scalable. Solution.
Yeah, that's fair. So whenever you're looking at solutions for scalability, what do you have to evaluate? I mean, actually, sorry, wrong question. What is a warning sign? My first question is, what's a warning sign for you guys
so
that this is not going to be scalable?
Nowadays, I would say, so it depends on if it's a new company that we don't know, one of the things that kind of scares us is a company that doesn't necessarily already have a robust product and that promises to build a product for us. which basically means that we're going to be we might be the main. There might be too much of a dependency. The other thing that we're looking at, and that was a big learning, is limitations. Every software has limitation, whether that's on the API calls, the number of cells, the speed at which it goes. Every tool has some restrictions, and if you don't take those into account from the beginning, or if you're not aware of them, I mean, it's okay to go for something that doesn't have that has low API rate limits if you're aware of it and already have a plan to move in the beginning. But like, so this is good for MVPs, but as soon as you start scaling drastically, like yeah, rate limits is super key. Not every solution works at a big scale. We're going at a rate of onboarding almost more than 10,000 couriers a month, which means that we're processing around 80,000 leads, and not every tool can handle this quantity.
Yeah, that's very fair. And I'm actually a little bit surprised to hear that being too eager and offering the world is maybe not a great demonstration of confidence, because my gut reaction is like, oh, if they ask for it, say yes, sort of thing. But I mean, that's a great learning too. And then is there anything that you find that whenever you are doing this research, you find these are kind of indicators this is definitely going to work before you even speak to someone? Like, instead of like red flags for not working, is there anything you're like, right, this is definitely someone we should be working with and is definitely going to grow with the same rate as Glovo?
Well, I have to say, actually, I would say that when we didn't know CloudTalk. We definitely didn't know CloudTalk before getting into it. We looked at, like, you know, Aircall and the typical other dialers, but they all seemed very, very, very restrictive. I mean, they lacked a lot of functionalities. And when we saw what CloudTalk had to offer, I mean, we instantly in the team were like, okay, this is the solutions. There were still some mini limitations, but as we talked to the technical teams, the technical team put those limitations on the roadmap and developed them. So coming from a solid product and then making maybe some slight adjustments in order to meet the demand of that customer, but not building an entire product around that new customer, you know. And that was amazing with CloudTalk. In terms of features, it ticked every single box that we wanted, and the technical team was amazing, and very attentive, and really understood what we wanted, but didn't specifically go out of their roadmap, which is what we liked, and just placed us as part of the roadmap because they saw the value in developing this for other future customers.
Nice. That's actually really nice to hear. Thank you, guys. Can I ask, were there any particular features that you guys knew that you needed that I guess made you pick us above one other solution for your project?
So we were looking for, so the tool that we built with CloudTalk is essentially like, it's a call list, right? But what we wanted to do was to externalize all of the calls, so that the local teams wouldn't have to do them. But one of the things that we really wanted to do is, because that team was going to be remote, we wanted to do the minimum training possible. We didn't want to have to be on top of that team. We didn't want to have to train them every time we added a new segment. We didn't want to have to give them access to many of our different tools. We wanted everything in one place, and we wanted to be able to add segments without any warning, and making sure that they would still be able to deliver those calls. So the first thing was the script feature, which we didn't see many other competitors having that. So that script feature has been a godsend, in the sense that we're able to start an agent can start a call without even knowing what the call is about, and as the call goes, picking it up. And then the other thing was that you also have, through the API, you allow us to, at the end, you have different text inputs or different selectors, so actions that the agent can perform during the call, still within the same interface, and that is all recorded and sent to our backend as soon as the call is ended. So it really allowed, it was really an all-in-one. No need to give you access to our admin, to our backend, to Airtable, to whatever. You just log in the morning, and your daily's work is cut out for you.
Nice. And did you guys have to play an active part in driving adoption in the teams that started using this, or was that held by their line managers?
Yes and no. Yeah, so for sure, the thing is that this tool, you will have to, the tool also assigns, we create segments and we assign calls automatically. So before, a manager will tell one guy, hey, call this person, and he will call this bunch of people. Now they tell a machine, you need to make these calls, and they don't see the calls. So for a manager not being able to see it, it's something that you actually have to sell and push for adoption. And we went to a point that we had to say, hey, you know what? Give me 20 cities, we'll manage them. Let's go. And that's how we had to show the numbers and see, minimum, I manage the cities, we get better results or same results. So this tool works. And we just had to push for the adoption because we know it's better than what they have.
We had to, there was a bit of a change, let's say like a change in mentality also, right? Like, so the local teams were very reactive in the sense, okay, this is happening, so I need to make those calls. Whereas with the new tool, we were anticipating the calls that they had to make, right? So it's more about planning than reacting. And this is obviously a big shift in mentality and in the way of working, which can be a bit harder for a manager to handle, or for it's let's say easier to act reactively because you know what you need to react to than to anticipate. And when a machine is making the choices for the anticipation, then that you're not making, you feel like you kind of lose control. So as Flavia said, we had to show it and to prove it to them that effectively we're getting better results with less people.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand it from the other person's side, like having the hesitancy, but I'm glad that it was an easy sell for you guys internally once you let them run with it for a little while. Now I have to ask though, have you had, so I'm very glad that working with CloudTalk and this here project has went well, but I really do have to ask, like, you must have had 1,000,001 projects under your belt at this point, and like growing so fast, you've had lots of successes, but equally there must have been a few disasters or a few projects that were maybe you look back and think, oh, I really wish we didn't do that, or I really wish we could have avoided that. Can you think of any?
So I would say, like, if we go back to what I was saying in the beginning, like that one of the big learning was on rate limits. So when we first started scaling, we were using Google Sheets for pretty much everything as a database. It's very easy to access. It's integrated with pretty much every single product that exists. Except that as soon as you ask it to deal with more than one country at a time, it fails. We had our accounts being closed because we were exceeding the rate limits. The cells would move along, so you would have the name of one courier with the email of another and the delivery address of another. So there was a point where we were shipping the wrong material, like one courier's material to another one's house, so that, I would say, that was a learning. That was that was a few like tough weeks when we had scaled globally and realized that the product was not working, and we had to quickly switch to other solutions. So yeah, like Google Spreadsheets is great for a quick MVP, but definitely not for scaling big. And yeah, we probably lost a lot of leads along the way with that.
I'm glad you're able to laugh at it now. I'm sure at the time I wasn't laughing matter. And I'm also very glad you shared that, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who probably relies too heavily on Google Sheets. So good thing to keep an eye on for the future. I have quite a few questions coming through on the what's it called, on Slido, but I have one that I want to ask you guys just because I'm selfish before I pass it over to the attendees. And we've invited a lot of scaling companies, ourselves included in this, and they would love to hit unicorn status like you guys have. Do you have any advice for them?
But I would say stay humble. We're still, everyone is, we're still, even now that we've hit unicorn status, where we are still small, and we should still, and we should stay humble. I mean, in our case, the food delivery market globally is massive. I mean, we are only the tip of the iceberg, and yeah, no, stay humble. I can't repeat that enough.
Yeah. And in stay humble, for us, it's not only, yeah, we have to be humble about our successes, but also about our resources. Yeah, we got investment, but we want to use this investment these resources in the best way possible. So in Glovo, what we try to do by staying humble is do as much as possible with as little resources as possible.
Okay.
That way we can scale faster and harder.
Fair. Okay. Those are very good takeaways for me, at least. Now, for questions, who will we go for first? Can you guys talk a little bit about the no-code approach to scaling? You said Zapier, for example. What other tools did you use, and how did you tackle getting an app? How do you tackle getting an app and drivers?
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of no code, like, so other tools that we're using, I mean, so we're also using CloudTalk, obviously, but we're using the other big thing that we're using is Airtable. We also switched a lot of the databases to MySQL, like it's a hosted service. And yeah, I mean, these are the main ones, but again, like, and Zapier is absolutely, well, less and less nowadays, but was absolutely central to everything, because it really allowed, yeah, as I said earlier, it's integrated with literally anything. We almost had a motto at some point, like that, like when we were saying that something was not possible, and it's not impossible. Zapier can do it. I don't know how, but you're gonna find a way. Zapier can do it, and it always did. We always found a workaround or something to make it work. Absolutely, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Zapier did allow us to. So what we do is, so for example, before we had to give a class. So we have an application that does classes. So we connect that through Zapier. And with Zapier, we send emails after somebody finishes the class, for example. And then other steps like shipping. We do the shipping through Zapier.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so everything through Zapier. Everything.
Yeah, it's
like
integrated
all
with
onboarding process
everything.
through Zapier. Yeah. And it's a no-code tool. It's really good. It's really easy to use, and for sure it allows us to grow fast, because anything that we needed to do, we could deploy it really fast with Zapier.
Ideal. Thank you. I have another question here. That's, can you elaborate on what is in your call script that your team uses in their conversations with clients? Are you allowed to share any insights on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the call script, as I was saying, so like one of our key points was that we did not want to have to train the agents, right? Like, so everything had to be super clear when they start getting on that call. So we divided the script into different sections. The first one is like what they start reading as soon as the phone is picked up. Hello, my name is da da da. I'm calling you from Glovo. We see that you haven't uploaded your documents. Do you have any questions? And then based on depending on the call, we would have different FAQs of what are the most commonly asked questions that the couriers might have. And then on the side, we had all of the contextual information. So what is that courier's name? What status of the funnel they are? What is their vehicle, etc. So that would allow the agent to be able to perform the call. Hope that answers the question.
No, perfectly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we use surveys to get feedback also. So for example, if an agent cannot find a solution, we have we use surveys in CloudTalk to write any problem and send that info to the managers.
Nice. Thank you, guys. I have another one. I think you may have touched on it already, though. Is how did you move away from Google Sheet? What tool did you use?
So
Airtable.
yeah, so a mix of Airtable and MySQL. So the hosted MySQL, which right now we don't use because we've integrated back into Glovo infrastructure. But in the beginning, so anything that was like database, like like a proper database, we migrated this to MySQL, and we kept the user-facing parts on Airtable. So like the good thing about what's great about Google Sheets, right, is that it's like it's both the user interface and the table behind it. So we basically split that into two parts: front end on Airtable and back end actual tables on MySQL.
Nice. Yeah, I've never actually came across my Airtable before, so I have to look into that after. I have another one here that is, I imagine a lot of restaurants and shops joined Glovo through the pandemic. How did you manage to scale restaurant or partners onboarding?
So in a similar way, I would say that as we did with the couriers, the partners team started implementing self-service signups in order to be able to collect the leads. So yeah, again, a migration from doing things presentially or on the phone to doing them purely online or remotely.
Yeah, and they started for sure before the pandemic, and same thing. They were trying to do self-service before the pandemic, and as the pandemic started, they just had to focus resources on self-services to improve it.
Nice. I have one question, and I think you could spend an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours on this here, but if you can, maybe just give a very brief overview answer to this. Easier said than done. I can't understand how they scale. Can they explain the target reach, revenue model, and how they improved efficiency?
So, I mean, how we, I mean, the revenue model is I would say is very similar to all of the to these companies. There's a part of the income that comes from the delivery fee, and there's a part of the income that comes from the partners. Because as we are taking orders from the partners, we are also, kind of advertising them. We're also taking the orders, so we are doing part of the work that the waiter or the marketing team of that shop would be doing, and this is a big part of the revenue. So actually, even though it might seem that like the customer is only paying a certain amount of like a small delivery fee, Glovo does earn a lot more from every order because of the commission coming from the partner, which is a very common question of how we pay many people think that we only pay the courier the delivery fee, which is definitely not the truth. The delivery fee is what the customer pays, but the courier actually does get a proper earning for every delivery, and most of that earning comes from the commission that the partner is paying.
Nice. Thank you. I have on here a few tools that have helped with your scaling. So Zapier, big fans clearly, for logistics and everything else. CloudTalk for communications. Any other software that you guys love or would recommend to other scaling companies?
Again, I would mention Airtable again. Airtable is a very convenient way of having both a user interface and it's kind of a boosted Google Sheets. It's able to, I think back in the days with Mike, when people were using Microsoft Office, I don't remember the name of the other one, but there was Excel, which was good enough, but had some limitation, and there was Access, which was able to handle much bigger databases and process a lot more information. Well, that's what Airtable was to us in comparison to Google Sheets.
Perfect.
Yeah, what Airtable does is that allow us to handle. So if we put the same resources on Google Sheets and Airtable allow us to access it with more people and with no lag. When in Google Sheet works amazingly, but put 10 people working in a sheet with 50,000 rows, it breaks. It breaks for sure. So Airtable does a good job on it. And another tool I want to say, like, for example, having your information, like usually when you start from scratch, you tend to not record your data and you tend to keep it on Google Sheets and then delete it. I'll recommend like try to migrate to MySQL and try to put data in MySQL and save it as soon as possible, because connecting MySQL with other tools will allow you to grow, to do easier transitions between tools. Because
Nice.
if you have your info if you have your info already in MySQL, then you just get it from there rather than getting it from Sheets. So it makes the transition better.
Perfect, makes sense. What features was CloudTalk able to tailor to your needs that Aircall or another solution didn't offer? I actually don't know, what other solutions were you guys looking at the time whenever you decided to go for CloudTalk?
So yeah, Aircall, Cloud Desk or something. Talkie, see, I don't remember all of them. I don't remember all of them. But yeah, in terms of features, I guess like Flavio could probably talk better on that side.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so I will say the key feature for us was the API. Being able to do things through the API is what told us, yeah, that's the tool that we're using for sure. Then after that, what Johan mentioned, the scripts. So the scripts is not only having the scripts, but that you can create scripts and you can assign it to different segments. So for this to work, we had to use campaigns, and the campaigns on CloudTalk are really good. So at the beginning, CloudTalk allowed us to create campaigns, but we were not able to do it in the API. So now but it was on the roadmap, upgrading the campaigns to be able to handle them through the API. So we managed to do these constraints, and we were able to use campaigns, scripts, surveys, and API to put calls into agents automatically. Like we have a code that runs when a person signs up to become a Glover. We add this person into our data, and our programs work the data, and they put the contact in CloudTalk to be called.
Nice. I have to say, I love hearing like the Glover. Whenever I order food from Glovo on my Glovoing, can I say I got my food Glovoed? How many times can we add Glovo to verbs and stuff?
Yeah, the common one is, yeah, I ordered like your Glovo is on the way. Like, so the Glovo being the package that you're ordering.
Nice, I love it. I have a good question here. I'm actually really keen to hear the answer. What caused more difficulty for company culture? Was it the pandemic or the rapid growth?
So I mean, so the pandemic was a big hit, right? Was a big hit in the beginning. Orders had right in the beginning, orders had come down. We thought that, you know, we might not survive it. So we actually went through a lot of furloughs. So we had quite a tough moment, like culturally, for a bit. Many of our teammates were on furlough for an undetermined amount of time. But ultimately, this also yeah. That's true. But it also forced us to reevaluate, you know, what, like, again, like what we were saying, to being humble, where we were maybe overstaffed, maybe we were already using too much resources, and it really forced us to rethink and to rethink in how to be more efficient, and it actually brought the team together. It really brought the team back together. So I would say that the pandemic had a strong effect, both in the negative and the negative way of in the culture, but ultimately was very positive. And I think it brought us back much more. It brought us together much more than the growth itself.
Nice. So it's a lovely note to end on, because we're just about to run out of time. And I just want to say, guys, on behalf of myself and the rest of the team of CloudTalk, thank you guys so much for coming on. It was definitely useful for me. And thank you for anyone who was able to join and submit questions. Really appreciate it. And I hope we get to speak to you guys again soon. Thank you again.